and welcome to Rethink HR CXO Series 5th edition. My name is Ajay, and I'll be your host for the evening. Let's kick off this evening with some enthusiasm. Please join me in giving a warm round of applause and get us started. So, may I hear a big round of applause? Well, I'm ecstatic to see this array of industry experts, thought leaders, seasoned HR professionals, and our partners who are with us today to be a part of this very special conclave. The 5th edition of Rethink HR CXO series, ladies and gentlemen, is brought to you by Sapphire Connect. India's most innovative B2B events company, which is Sapphire Connect, that focuses on creating knowledge sharing and networking platforms through conferences, bespoke events, research papers, and by building business communities. This intimate gathering is a true testament and a reflection of all the hard work put in by the team. So can we give a roaring round of applause for Sapphire Connect? Thank you so much. Before we dive into our discussion, I'd like to set the stage for why we are gathered here. To quote Steve Jobs, great things in businesses are never done by one person. Rather, they are done by a team of people. This reinforces our goal today to recognize and nurture the leadership talent that will lead our organizations to new heights. The highlight of today's evening is the launch of CXO Moves, a study of C-suite movements in India. This extensive study, conducted over the past year in collaboration with Sapphire Human Capital and FICCI, examines CXO movements documented during 23-24 and incorporates insights from leaders in both HR and business domains. Before we start, I would like to thank our people partner, Sapphire Search, our supporting association, which is India Diversity Forum, our supporting partners, Meritrack Services, Woxon University, and TMI Group. And moving forward, I would like to welcome our gracious audience. Please join me in inviting on stage partner and business head, Sapphire Connect, who, of course, has been at the forefront of driving this meaningful conversation and bringing all of us together. Joining me on stage, please put your hands together for Mr. Rishi Kapoor as he steps forward.
Thanks, Ajay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to CXO Rethink HR CXO Series, Bangalore edition. Rethink HR over the years has become the premier gathering for HR professionals and thought leaders, establishing itself as a beacon of excellence in the domain of HR. Each year, we strive to elevate the discourse, ignite innovation, and foster connections that drive meaningful change in organization across. Our events for the last 4 years held in Delhi, Bangalore, and Mumbai have now expanded to include Pune and Hyderabad, reflecting our commitment with growing and evolving HR landscape. Today, we are proud to launch the 5th edition of the exclusive report this evening, CXO Move, a study of C-suite movements of India. This insightful analysis explores the over 8,000 leadership transition witnessed in corporate India in 2024, providing valuable insights into emerging trends, competitive strategies, and HR practices shaping the future. This report stands as a testament to our dedication to providing cutting-edge research and actionable insight that empower HR leaders to make informed decisions and drive their organization forward. Rethink HR is not just about events, it's about a holistic approach to advancing the field of HR, from major conferences to specialized roundtable discussions, and from comprehensive publication to interactive workshops. We aim to cover all aspects of HR excellence. As we gather for this 5th edition of our HR CXO series and celebrate the release of our 5th publication, we continue to build a platform that supports the growth and success of HR professionals across India. Thank you for being part of this journey, and I look forward to all the impactful discussion and connection that will emerge from today's event.
Thank you, Rishi, for setting the stage for all of us. I would now like to invite our keynote speaker, Mr. Rajesh Ramchandran, who is the Global Chief Digital Officer and Managing Director for the process automation business with the ABB Group. Rajesh is an accomplished global techno business leader with more than 3 decades of experience and a successful track record of building and transforming innovation driven organizations worldwide. He brings a unique combination of expertise in technology, platforms, businesses, industry, and organizational leadership. As the Global Chief Digital Officer and Managing Director of ABB, Rajesh oversees the multi-billion-dollar digital and industrial AI business, which encompasses global digital strategy, innovation, R&D, and business growth. Under his leadership, ABB has developed the GenX Industrial AI platform, a pivotal innovation that has gained significant traction across various industries worldwide. Please put your hands together for Mr. Ramachandran.
Thank you, Ajit. Good evening. Can you hear me okay? Good evening. Really pleased to be with you today. Great leaders here, and the topic is all about how to foster the talents in terms of hiring, as well as how do you look at retaining them. I know that this is not a topic that is having a rule book or Bible. We know that it's something depends on how it works for each of the situations. I thought it'll be a good idea to share some of the learnings that we have done it in ABB, as well as my career for last 30 years, on what has really worked and what possibly did not work well, right? And what is the learnings? That's fundamentally I thought I will share this. How many of you don't know ABB? Maybe you can raise the hands. So I know that you all know ABB. You don't need to raise the hands. So ABB is a global company headquartered in Switzerland. It's two companies joined together, Asia and Brown Bevere, about 25 years back. So we still have a Sweden or Swiss. We always get confused because there's two different marriage between these two different countries that was in ABB. It's been 125 years old company. It's there in 140 countries. This is the only company I feel proud of because the only company which has led all the 5 industry revolutions. Industry 1.0 to 4.0, as well as driving the 5.0. It's kind of something that we feel proud of. It's also that India specifically has a big history for ABB as well. ABB is also listed in India as an ABB India, which is 75% owned by ABB globally and 25% by the shareholders in India. Right? The thing that when it comes to ABB and the people is something that I always felt ABB gives tons of importance for the talent. And more importantly, what we call as a succession planning within the organization for leadership. So I worked in multiple organizations in my careers, started with Siemens in Germany, in Oracle and eBay, PayPal, SAP, built my own company as well. Of course, not made a lot of money, but decently made money on that. But of course, with ABB for now, about 5 years. There's interesting set of challenges in ABB. In fact, I face the same thing in Oracle as well, that if your company is already known for something, and if you're trying to set up something different, you sometimes need to also do a little bit of internal branding, or even sometimes like unbranding and branding, right? When I just saw when I came and met my friends here, the way that the Sapphire's logo, which now is like transformed itself, I mean, I was very pleased to see that. I think that's kind of something is needed for even making what you are and what you are different today, right? We can't say the same mantra of what ABB was 125 years to be able to hire a person from an IIT today, right? It's very different. So I think there's some of the things that in the journey, and maybe I think it will be of an interest and can be applicable for you as well. I just tried to cover this in 3 different small buckets. One is a bit of the relevance for you to connect on ABB, and ABB is also known for traditionally electrification and automation, but today we are a very strong digital player. We are possibly the first one to bring in generative AI into the industrial applications. We have a business of roughly about $3.4 billion on digital software and services. There's a different dimension of ABB, what it was earlier and now. When I joined about 5 years back in ABB, the business for digital used to be somewhere around like 175 million. So there's a huge difference. has been a significant growth that shows that the organization has a potential to grow. The first thing I want to touch about bit about how do we see the fostering the talent and leadership, retaining and retention on the ABB side. Then my learning overall just not limited to ABB on what's the different ways that we could look at hiring and personal experience on that. I also built pretty large organization in India as well as outside India in different places, including for the companies that I mentioned. So hiring, how do we look at hiring a top talent and what really helping and what does not work? What certain myths that we think it will work, it doesn't work. And last but not least is not about hiring, but retaining and growing. And of course, then, in fact, even growing is not only that you want to hold them for yourself. Sometimes you might even let them go because they need to grow possibly in a better way in a different place and they will come back. So it's kind of the circle that I want to touch on. In ABB, one of the things that we use the word is that we never tell that how many employees we have, how many people we have. We say that how much talent capability we have it. So that itself is like first way to say that we don't see you as a people, we look at as talent. And interestingly, if I have to just say that in a words, number of employees we have it is 105,000, but we say that the talents that we have is 264,000 as of today. So you say what it is. So potentially we even say that you are equivalent of bringing the talent of more than twice sometimes. It itself is our branding in terms of the internal branding of employee engagement, saying that, and we achieve that through something we call as, many people talk about work-life balance, we call as, this is something that I actually like initiated with my HR partners. We call this work-life skill balance or work-life skill excellence, which potentially look at also helping them to learn new skills and not only balancing the life, but also the balancing the skills that need it. I mean, even today that 5 years back, what we were focusing on today, what we are focusing on the technology is pretty different. I think it's always important for us to tell our organization and our people that it's not about just work-life, it's also the work-life and skill balance. I'm sure that we love to do things, even sitting overnight to work if you love the job. If you love something to do it, you want to do it. You get stressed only when you are trying to do something totally ambiguous, you don't know about it, you don't know the outcome is going to be meaningful or not, that you get a lot more stressed. I think that's fundamental thing, the way you look at talents, not just like people and employees. Second thing is we look at the holistically work life and actually the skill excellence. It's pretty interesting survey when we did for this 105,000 people, and we do twice a year employee engagement in a different model, not like filling a lot of big survey forms. And we also do that specifically for our leadership team. And what is work-life balance? When I ask people, it meant completely different for different people. In fact, some people say that I want to work 20 hours a day, I want to grow faster, right? Some people I want to work 9 to 5. And I think one of the things everybody stick to that is, it's about, I would like to get the best out of what I am capable of and keep improving myself on the value. So that's fundamentally that I'm sure we all appreciate it. That's applicable even for our leaders. We also designed for that a special program of how do you do this. And we call that as LCG, is a learn, connect, and grow. It's nothing very different. I'm sure that you have many things like this with you as well. But we actually, for each of these different levels, we defined a path, including also having an ecosystem. I mean, I just saw Voxon. Voxon also we have a tie-up with them on specific areas. But we also have with Harvard, which is like Harvard Spark. Maybe some of you will be having it. If you don't have it, it's a fantastic platform for your, especially management, senior management leadership. Harvard Spark is a platform. It's pretty economical if you want to build it as you want to bring it, and it's a lot of free materials. I can tell you that the benefit that we get with that is immense, right? So having a program structured has been one of the ways that ABB is investing. And we look at business leaders, in my part, where I have my responsibility for driving this close to about $3.5 billion business on digital. We have the 3 core member team for our anything that we strategize. As a business leader, I have 3 core leaders with me, and HR is one of them. So very clearly for us, We call it a HR business partner. I'm sure you have it as well. Even in our executive committee, we have a CHRO, which is the key role for us. The first innovation that we worked on bringing these co-pilots for the Gen AI. The sponsor is the CHRO. That's kind of the importance is important to be given. Culture is something that we have seen that plays a significant role of attracting and retaining the people. When courage, curiosity, innovation, and collaboration is something that we call as what is the core purpose of the company. I mean, similar ones, I'm sure you have it. We have a different similar ones in the earlier companies I worked. But it needs to be also that we stand by that as a leadership. We have a significant focus on integrity and safety atmosphere that really helps on, especially if you have a diverse set of people. Because the challenge in ABB that we have is that we have the people who have been with the organization for many years. A lot of people joined 30 years back, but we also people who are just coming from out of campus who are, you can call us the ditch kids, right? So we have a combination because for me the biggest challenge is with the big ABB of the people who have been doing the traditional as well as even the modern electrification and automation, how do you bring this digital as a startup or incubation hub within them, right? To build that within that, it was not an easy thing. Building both in India as a center of excellence, which started with, I was the number one there kind of person to join, but of course I have a global role as a digital, but also setting up a COE, which has now grown more than 1,000 people, is fundamentally the way also that how you need to build a brand within the company and the positioning that needs to be done. The challenges clearly is, as I mentioned, bring some uniqueness within the organization. And it's not about just branding. I mean, you go to anywhere, you ask, like, do a survey of these people. What does it mean for you to attract the people and leadership? Of course, compensation and benefits come in the first top three, right? It can't ignore that. But my sincere learning throughout my career of 32 years is that even the compensation and benefits means different for different people. Especially it means different for the leadership, top leadership, even the middle leadership. In our organization, we have roughly about 450 people on the, you can call us a VP and high levels, senior levels, closely about 45 people CXOs. One of the things that we really helped us of changing is to bring a comp and benefit model for leadership to ensure that they see ABB for life. And we are proud that our retention levels are extremely high in the leadership and senior leadership. Of course, you will always have certain level of attritions at the mid and junior levels that you need to build the resilience. So the 5 things I will look at as getting the best talents from the market is build a clear sense of branding and sense of purpose. We used to talk about innovation earlier, but today we need to talk about sustainability. So sustainability becomes a key fact in terms of even hiring people. I mean, I had an experience of hiring people recently from in Germany from the top school. The question they ask is that, I mean, when are you going to get rid of your business for oil and gas? As if like oil and gas is like red, right? It's not green, they see it. So you obviously need to explain, we help on this also to transition and energy security, because if you need to bring electricity for you to electrical transition for sustainability, you need to obviously produce metals which need to come from a mining industry. Obviously for that, you need to have the raw materials, you need to obviously have the pipeline coming from the oil and gas. So it's fundamentally, you need to connect on how do you convey your sense of purpose of your brand. I think that's significantly needed, especially because we have to build a completely a different leadership team on the energy transition and sustainability than what we had as a broader organization. Second thing I believe is that the people who stick around with us longer time is the push-pull behavior, right? The people we are able to automatically pull indirectly. They are the people who have stayed longer time. Not like you push saying that, okay, how much you want? You want to give 30% more rise, you want to give this and come, the people come and they leave as well. I believe that we should actually rather put the facts and pull them based on what we really feel as the value. If I had to see the other way, I would rather look at somebody who is one level down than what we expect in our what we are looking for. The person would love to do the work that we are giving it and grow, rather than getting a person and make the person disappointed because you possibly give him some other sugar-coated on the role. The person comes and sees that this is not how I'm doing it, and they leave it. They leave. And you know that a person coming and leaving is the equivalent of losing almost 2 years in the business. It's about getting the person. You obviously have a lead time of getting a person, identifying 6 months. The person comes, takes a 6 months and leaves, then you have another year for you to repeat the cycle and get the person on board. So 2 years is significantly expensive for our leaders, right? Whether you talk about mid-management or senior management. So I think the push-pull I rather look at is create the facts, the job definitions, and get the right people. Right people I mean is that not exactly the mapping of the skills. Ideally, I would look at the people one level down so that they believe that they come and learn as well as grow. We believe that it's very strong to have an ecosystem and network of the right talent partners with us. Like in this case, we know Sapphire as an example. Like when I used to do a lot of work with Sapphire in the past, this past company is not here yet, but Sapphire, the ecosystem of talent is an extremely important aspect as well for us to get the right leaders. I have seen many times that people take 4 or 5 samples of the people and try to get people underneath, but rather than finding out your top talent. And I know that you all know this as a leaders, that you don't hire a person on demand. You need to have the people lined up, you identified, you create who is coming across the best people and map it. I think that has been one of the strengths that we have been using it. When we communicate to the people, always communicate the total value. In ABB that we define on saying the package has 3 elements. One is a component, which include compensation as well as benefits. Then we say that long-term wealth creation, I'm sure you have it as well, which is fundamentally about stocks or anything that you have it as a profit share, different levels. And third, that what we say is that the opportunities that you have it within the organization to grow, and give clear examples about people who join in certain level, how they have grown. I give sometimes my example or the other leaders to be able to see that where they joined and where they could, right? So I think that has really helped on attracting some of the good talents as well as retaining. 4 more points on the retaining side, which might be useful for you to think of, is first and number one is engage. I think many times we believe that leaders, especially even the top management in mid-management level, we know that for the younger generations, juniors, you need to obviously have a different engagement model, but we sometimes ignore about this mid-management and top management that you don't need to pat them, right? You just say that they are part of the job, and you lose those people. I think retaining talent also need to engage the mid and senior management level. I'm sure that you do it. If it is not, please ensure that you have a regular way of having the recurring discussion with them. And one thing that I learned from my ex-boss, whom used to be my direct boss in Oracle, Thomas Corian, who is now the Google Cloud CEO. First thing he'll ask when I have a one-on-one is that, where do you stand in your motivation scale 1 out of 10? 10 should be the highest. If I say that 8, then he will talk about business work. He will scold sometimes if you don't do it right. But if you say that my motivation scale level is like 6, he will not talk about business. He will talk about you. I think it's kind of understanding to have yourself comfortable that you are good, then work on. I think that really helps on engaging. Rewards and recognition, I touched upon that, including a very different levels. We have 10 different awards that we have it in the rewards side. When I say award, not just prizes, rewards that accumulates and create a value and recognize. I think that is extremely important for different levels. I talked about the work-life skill balance. Just introducing this work-life skill excellence program, we brought down our attrition level throughout, from the junior level to the senior level, by 6% we cut down. Right? I think it has been a phenomenal tool. I would sincerely encourage that if you would like to consider that. I've seen that one of the other tools really helps, especially the people that individual contributors, right? You might be having architects, you might be having senior leaders. Keep them busy. Like if you keep them not busy, they always look at like doing something and going out. I know that this is not that we don't want to make the people going out, but I think keeping them busy on something that challenges has been a phenomenal way of retaining our top talent. Last one that I would like to look at is, think one step ahead. We believe that your people are happy with what they do, but typically they might want to do something more. So I believe that rotations within the organization, different roles, adding and creating an accountability along with that has been really helping. These are some of the tools and techniques that I have seen really working. I have built organization from scratch to 22,000 people as well in different organizations. But I have seen that people respect through which they want to stay, number one. I have also seen that the people who I let them go because they found a much better opportunity outside is always good because they come back. I mean, today, if I have to look at my organization, especially the one in India, part of the organization, roughly about 15% of the organization who have possibly worked with me in the past many times, right? They possibly come back, work, and so on. That's possibly a few cents off from my side. I think the way to conclude is, let's all treat our people as today, especially with kind of the challenges they have to go through in all the different social life, including our own kids. They ask different kind of challenging questions for us than what we asked our parents. Please treat the people as talents and the value creators than just the people. I think that will be my first request. The second one is that it's not something that we go and hire people. It's fundamentally building an ecosystem. I always Ankit Bansal in this case, he always used to send earlier, Rajesh, I found this kind of a great candidate, look at it, right? So it's like any point of time, always keep open yourself from getting the best people that you want to get it. Ultimately, we are driven by the people and leadership is what is going to grow. It's not that magically you can build the business and customers, you need the right people. And the third thing I would say is that it is very important that you talk about always the total value for the employees or the people. And I'm sure that you have to challenge your HR leaders and HR business benefit partners to build that your talent brand model. Not just only, many times, this company is Google can hire people, you can't hire. I mean, this used to be the same thing used to be beginning for me as well. I don't think it's needed. I don't think everybody wants to love and work for only Google. And Google is not hiring all the 2 million people as well. So you can create a brand for yourself within this and make it successful. That's my learning. Thanks a lot for your time. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramachandran, for those words. I would request you to stay back on the stage. And I would request Mr. Rishi Kapoor to come on the stage and present a token of appreciation to Mr. Ramachandran. Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you, Rishi. Moving on, while we set the stage for the next panel discussion, I'll just give you a brief introduction about what we are going to discuss on this. So this is regarding strategies for better leadership hiring. That's the topic on which the panel is going to discuss. Leveraging data-driven insights for strategic leadership hiring, which is the topic, and it is going to focus on emphasizing the importance of data analytics in identifying emerging trends and predicting future leadership needs. So for our panel, first, I would like to welcome on stage Ruchi Aluwalia, Group CHRO of Quest Corp, and our moderator for today's panel. Please give it a big round of applause. Ruchi is an astute HR leader and strategist. Ruchi holds an MBA in HR and marketing. She is certified senior professional in human resources and a brain-based certified coach. She has 22 years of diverse HR experience with over 15 years in leadership roles across various industries such as software, pharma, automobile, financial services, healthcare, engineering, and professional services. Prior to joining Quest, Ruchi led the HR functions of Eaton's India Electrical Business, Scania Commercial Vehicles India, and Carl Zeiss India. I would also like to invite Asha Subramaniam, who is the CHRO of Subex. Please give it a big round of applause. As a senior HR leader, Asha is passionate about promoting a people-first, healthy, and creative work environment through trust building and open communication. With extensive experience across many facets of HR, including but not limited to HR business partnering, leadership development, employee engagement, performance matrices, talent acquisition, employer branding, and creating executable HR strategies. She has helped organizations evangelize their people goals with equal emphasis on employee and external talent. Next, we have Mr. Joel Sebastian, HR Director for Esper. Please give it a big round of applause. Joel, as the India HR lead at Esper, brings over 15 years of experience in partnering with leadership to establish and continuously improve an exceptional culture and employee experience. Joel is also an ICF accredited executive coach who helps individuals and teams achieve their potential and goals. He has worked with large Fortune 500 companies, mid-sized companies, and startups across various industries. Joel has demonstrated strengths in leadership, relationship building, strategic management, operational management, performance management, talent management, coaching, and change management. Next on the panel, we have Mr. Monarch Limai, CHRO of Allstate. Give it a big round of applause, please. Monarch is a distinguished alumnus of Accelerate Jamshedpur. Monarch assumed the role of head of HR function at Allstate, India in November 21, infusing more than 22 years of strategic and innovative HR leadership experience into the organization. Monarch's extensive experience in human resource management spans various geographies and industries. Before joining Allstate, he had led the HR function in India and served as an advisor to the global R&D leadership at Software AG. A certified executive coach by ICF and a certified GRP professional, Monarch holds a master's in psychology from Tamil Nadu University. And last but not least, we have on the panel Sri, who's the head of HR, SLR India Private Limited. Sri is the group head HR for XLR Luxottica in South Asia. He has double masters in HR and public administration from Nagpur University, certified in Hogan Assessment, MBTI, Thomas Profiling, and is a certified coach. He has successfully led HR functions in the last 15 years and is passionate about mentoring, coaching, change management, organization behavior, and transformation. Now, I hand it over to you, Ruchi. Thank you so much.
Am I visible and audible? Both yes. Both yes. Okay, so first of all, thank you everybody to show up here because Bangalore traffic is really it is really brave to travel all across Bangalore and come all over to MG Road. So thank you so much, and especially when it rains, it becomes worse. So thank you so much for that. Before we start the panel discussion, I thought, I'll narrate a short story. I'm fond of stories, and I hope you like this one to set the context. So there are two people, who meet up in the heaven, of course, after they die. So they're happy in the heaven and enjoying life, and they accidentally bump into each other. And then they realize that, they know each other very, very well. One of them is the leader, and the other one is the reportee of that leader. And both of them, they have a long history together. They have been with each other for almost 10, 12 years, which is long enough. And then when they meet up, they're very happy, and then they start to chat up over coffee. And then, of course, they start to, reminisce about their tenure with each other. And since it's heaven, everything is possible. So there's a big screen that comes up. And then they start to see, hey, we are walking together, throughout our journey. When we started, when I was onboarded, and when I was given my performance appraisal, there was this project, and blah, blah, blah. And across the whole journey, both of them see there are two pairs of footsteps together, which means they are both of them walking together all along. Both of them are very happy, especially the reportee is very happy that all along I had a leader who was shouldering with me the responsibilities and walking all along. And then when they zoom in a bit, or the reportee zooms in a bit, he realizes that there are patches in between the journey where there are only a pair of footsteps. There are only two, two steps there. So he gets to start to get a little worried. And then he zooms in further, and he realizes that these milestones were the most difficult patches of his career. So he realizes that, look, my boss was all along with me whenever there were good times and I was having fun and I was at the peak of my career. But these difficult times, I see myself walking all alone. So his face droops, and he turns around, talks to his leader who's sitting by his side, and he says, boss, why did you do this to me? why am I walking all alone? And the leader, a renowned one, turns around to the reportee and says, these were the times where I was carrying you. So that's the power of leadership, human-centric leadership. And today we are with this illustrious people, the HR professionals here, understanding a little bit about leadership because these people here play a pivotal role, as Mr. Rajesh mentioned, about people, leadership, and the contribution to the growth of the company. The people here, I would say, are kingmakers. They contribute a lot into hiring, assimilating, and developing these leaders. So we're going to learn a lot today from them, and I hope you'll all enjoy. Towards the end of this conversation, we are happy to take any questions from the audience, and the panel here would try and address that. So are we good to go? Yeah. Good. And I'm very happy today and relaxed because for a change, I'm on the other side of the table. I get to ask a lot of questions. So over to you. My first question is to you, Munaf. This is around building a robust leadership pipeline. And we all know how important it is for the growth and sustainability of the company. So can you tell us a little bit more about some of the strategies that you have implemented in your company, which has contributed to internal talent development? We all talk about succession, high potential development, and what have you. So how have some of these really worked out for your company?
Okay, thanks. First of all, am I audible?
Yes. And visible.
Thanks. I think we are all talking about, and under the context of exactly what the gentleman earlier talked about, right? More and more things have shifted post-COVID. If we look at lot of organizations, almost every organization has started giving more emphasis on internal talent development, because when you realize, and you talked about the cost of attrition, which is very high, and when you realize that there is absolutely no 100% perfect fit for any role, and that's what most of the organizations are doing. When you realize that as an organization, how do you grow internal talent becomes extremely critical for your growth plans, even 3 years down the line, forget about long-term growth plans. And that's where I represent Allstate, and it's not only in Allstate, but in my previous organizations also, what we intentionally have started quite some time back is how do you generate an ecosystem to help the internal talent grow. You obviously have pros and cons, you obviously have advantages of both the sides, but to talk about 2 or 3 of intentional discussions that we have is, let's say we talk about succession planning, and succession planning largely in Allstate, you look at critical roles, right? And the definition of critical roles has forever been expanding. It's not going less. Earlier we used to talk about top talent and we used to talk about CXO level. Now we are intentionally talking about the next level and the next level. So when you talk about leadership and when you talk about internal development, you are looking at leaders, potential leaders at all levels of organization. Right? And when you talk about succession planning, when we at least refer to succession planning, we are looking at those roles and which are the possible 2 or 3 key players who can fill in that role at any point in time. What we do is we look at whether somebody is ready to get into that role in case of attrition immediately, whether somebody is ready in 6 months and 1 year. And then once you have mapped this out, then you have leadership development coming in, then you have all the tools that you provide to people to sort of grow into those roles. And that has worked very well for us. Our vision, right now we are at 35% internal movement, but our vision is to go to 67%, which is 2/3 of all your requirements should be filled internally. You also need a healthy mix of external blood coming in, because that's when you have more challenges coming in, that's where you have more diversity coming in, but nothing replaces this internal movement which we have been doing, and that's one of the strategies that has really played out very well for us, at least in the past couple of years. Second one, if I were to talk about, is the other side of it, which is your high potential development. Now, not necessarily you have talent available, but role available at the same time. So there's always this mix and match of roles versus talent that you keep on doing. And that's where we have also seen that lot many times great talent leaves because you just don't have those roles to provide to them. That's where this high potential development comes in, where you intentionally identify those people who could be your potential winner for next year or next to next year, maybe 3 years down the line. And then how do you rotate them through different experiences is what we have been doing. And for that, what we have actively done is we have broken down the roles into the skills attributes, right? So you do require this, you don't require a perfect 100% fit, but you are looking at a 60% and 80% kind of combination, and where the remaining 20, 30% you try to fill in through the leadership development. That's another thing that has helped us very well. These are the two that I can talk about. I can go on and on, but these two are the top ones.
Sure. Thank you, Monak. And I couldn't resonate with you because, again, in my company, Quest Corp, we speak about 50%. We would like to go to 50% to have a good equilibrium between internal and external talent. And we are about 46 this year, and so 67 is a great one to really.
It's a target. We are not reached it.
Good. Now I'd like to turn on to you, Joel, on the same question. From your experience, would you echo with what Monak said? Would you have different strategies or other challenges that come along when you want to grow talent from within versus also hiring from outside?
Again, am I audible? And visible? Okay. Thank you. It's good to see all of you, and thank you for the opportunity. So I kind of echo to what Monak said. So I right now work for a startup. I lead the HR function there. And previously I was working with a company named CGI. It's one of the MNCs. And CGI had a high performance, for employees who are performing really well. We had a program. It used to be called the Fast Track Employee Program. So the intention was to ensure that when we get good candidates, right? I mean, when you get really high performing employees, obviously, I mean, all of us are in the HR fraternity, so like how these things are, how they are bifurcated, right? In terms of ratings, in terms of projects worked on, all that. So what we used to do was we used to have a program wherein at a director level, at a manager level, so we had 2 programs, and it used to be pretty intense. It used to be like a 3-month program, obviously ongoing. The first and foremost thing is, I'm sure all of you are aware of IDP, right? Individual Development Program. So there used to be a plan, post which they had to undergo a leadership training program, and few things which we used to take care as part of the program. One was they are given an opportunity to be a part of these leadership reviews which used to happen, like that at a CXO level, so that they get an understanding in terms of what exactly happens in a meeting, so they get an opportunity to interact with these leaders and all that. So I think if I throw in some numbers, so our target used to be at least 40%, sort of a conversion, like 40-60. Probably right now the numbers would have increased a little more because this program is going on for quite a number of years now. So we used to get a lot of good feedback about the program, especially. CJ is an IT services company, so you need a lot of employees. I mean, it's a number game compared to a product company, if you look at it that way. So we used to ensure that employees are retained, employees are engaged, and like how you said, sir, we need to ensure that employees are kept busy, right? Otherwise, they'll start looking out, they'll start looking at other opportunities and all that, right? So I kind of echo to what you said. It's a key thing, especially these days, to keep employees motivated, to keep employees engaged. Yeah.
Sure. So while you're on it, Joel, the next question also to you. Yeah. We all know that culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? And how important it is to have culturally fit candidates, especially when you are hiring them from outside. So my question to you is, today, especially in today's world, where there are changing scenarios, where there's complexity of different people, diversity of different people, complexity of businesses and environment, what methods do you deploy to really assess a leader, for him or her to be culturally fit?
Okay. So I think, so while I was going through, while Sapphire Connect reached out to me for this, for this panel discussion, and when I got this question, so one thing which flashed in my mind was I was reading an article a few years ago where a company was hiring, And one of the criteria they had was to look at the candidate's sun sign. Okay, so that was one criteria they had, and somewhere they were trying to ensure that they get the right candidate to the role, to the leadership role. So I know some companies still do that, and these days you guys are aware of AstroTalk, Astro Yogi, and all that, right? So you just put in data, and you get you put in data, you get data out, right? Yeah. So it actually came to my mind, and I was actually wondering, I was wishing that things were like so easy. Like if we could do things in a very linear way, it would have been very easy for us as HR professionals, right? So coming back, so I work for a startup, and it's a SaaS company. And so one best practice, or one thing which we do is, especially when we hire leaders, when I say leaders, like somebody who is probably senior manager and above, this is something which we actually ensure that this is taken care of. So what we do is, and there's a saying, right? You can't choose your family and your manager, right? So we are actually kind of trying to change that a bit. So one thing we do is, when we hire leaders, what we do is we get the team members to interview the leader. So once the recruiter shortlists the candidate, the next person who the leader will be meeting will be one of his team member. So we give an opportunity to them to interview their leader so that they have a bit of a say in terms of whom they will be reporting into, who will be leading them, right? So that is something which we do because so another aspect of it is we are a US-based company, and there's a lot of collaboration which is required with the US folks as well. So what we need to ensure is that we need to ensure that the person who is coming in should be a good fit for that aspect, like working very closely with the US leadership team. And the culture is very different. Like US, the culture is different. India, the culture is very different, right? I mean, if you look at the Power Dynamics Index also, it's very different. It's low and high. So we ensure that the person who comes in goes through this grind. Then he or she meets the stakeholders. After that, so once everything is done, then you meet up with the senior leadership, and then they take a decision in terms of whether to go ahead or not. So that is something which we are very particular about. And this is something which has worked for us really well. So this is the time of Gen Zs, right? And I'm sure all of you would agree. And gone are those days where millennials used to be the it crowd, right? And I'm actually one of the oldest employee in my company, and I actually feel very, sometimes I feel a little out of place, but I mean, our age group is like in that 26 to 27 years. So it's very important for the person who's coming in to ensure that they work with the younger crowd. I mean, obviously, when you look at a senior person, obviously the person will be probably that millennial, and we have few boomer generation as well. So one thing we do is, so another aspect to look at is one thing we kind of do this is to ensure that the person who's coming in is not rigid. The person is flexible. The person can work with, be it a junior employee, be it a senior person. So we need to ensure the fit is there. So that is something which we are very particular, and the person who's coming in might have to work with somebody who is probably much younger than them, or in terms of age and in terms of experience as well. So we need to ensure the person who's coming in has to get shit done. So get shit done is actually one of our values, right? So this is something which we drive very, very religiously, and this takes a bit of time as well because we are very particular that the person who's coming in has to ensure that. By the way, we are one of the best workplace certified companies, and we take great pride in ensuring that we we focus on people first culture. So we need to ensure that that trend continues. So something which I wanted to highlight.
Very interesting and innovative. I was reminded of Linda Goodman times where you are really doing the matches on the star sign. That's very interesting, maybe.
We don't do that.
I know, but it's thought provoking.
Yeah.
Great.
So that's one advantage when you work for a startup and compared to
you can
probably,
try different things,
you can try
right?
a lot of stuff. Yeah.
So I'd like to ask Sri to really, if there's anything that you want to add on.
Okay, so I would kind of add to what he said, that to a large extent we also have around 4 or 5 levels of interactions, and those in one of the interaction we have a peer level interaction, which is basically with the peer group, And second is we have kind of interaction with team members, which is a kind of informal one. So normally during lunch, you go out with the team. And this actually helps the team to make an assessment about who the person is, and likewise, who are the people going to work with the leader. The second part, which also come into play, is we do assessments. For the leadership, it is very clear that we do an assessment center for hiring any leader, so that, apart from the skills, the whole aspect of how the individual is going to figure out culturally fit into the organization comes out. We have had some very good examples where, the leader after the interactions have said maybe this is an organization I would like to have a go at, and people have also decided not to join. And this is very important because our industry is basically an optical industry. It's a very, very niche industry, and which is a very closed industry. And people from outside at times feel very stifled because it's a very, very small industry, and at times they feel that the growth path at times may not be as high compared to others. So this is something which is very important for us, that internally you can grow, but as far as if you're looking out, and if you stay in this industry for too long, maybe you may not be getting a role outside. So we kind of help the individuals also to assess from both sides whether they are fitting or they would like to be part of this journey. The other part which I would speak about as far as the culture fit is concerned is when we interact, most of us do it, is the situational interview that we do. And that is where the clear picture about how the individual would like to interact with the team members, and how he would possibly be able to meander his way when he's new in the organization becomes very important. And the first 90 days as such is where we really monitor the individual and try to help him out with the buddy system so that he onboards in a very smooth manner. So that's how we handle it.
Great. So democratizing the leadership hiring by involving also the team members, right? Yes. And do you take the feedback from them basis, their interactions?
Yes, for sure. If all the team members are coming to a consensus that this is someone whom we would not like to work with, certainly we would not go for the candidate.
Very interesting. Yeah. Good. I'll turn towards Asha now, and we speak about women in leadership more and more now, and it's heartening to see that the numbers, the report that we see, the numbers have significantly gone up. Of course, we are still way below to the desired levels. But I'd like to ask you, Asha, what is your company really doing in terms of creating more women in the leadership, hiring more women in the leadership?
Okay. Audible? Okay. Hi everybody. Thanks a lot, Sapphire, and thanks, Ruchi, for that amazing story what you told us. Seriously, I loved it. And I stand corrected on one thing. It's not kingmaker, queenmaker, because you've asked me the diversity question. Okay, so at Subex, and I started getting into this diversity journey, right? Like initially, generally what happens is we are with 5-6 years of experience, and diversity means we only think that 30% of women and 70% of men. Now we have to increase it to 40%, right? We look at the number game. And slowly I started understanding that it's much beyond that, because we are we just started the journey. So I always tell diversity is a journey, never a destination, right? And India is if you look at it, we've started it 10 years or 12 years. So we're still early stage, right? So at Subex, we started bringing in a couple of things which actually has helped us. And as I told, it's a journey, and slowly we start seeing some transformation. So the first thing is any women leader who puts in her resignation, right? We look at retaining the person, and sometimes I feel that attrition is not a bad term at all, right? You can get in somebody new and probably new energy. So what we do is we replace a woman leader with another woman. So that is something which actually has worked really good for us. So the second thing what we are overall doing is there is something called mentorship and sponsorship. Now when we talk about mentorship, we all understand that there is a mentor sitting above us and telling us whenever we require a direction. But a sponsorship is most probably I've spoken to so many women, it's not fully understood. Sponsorship basically in our organization, what we mean is there is a senior person sitting out there, probably when a woman leader has to be promoted, or she has to get a hike, or she has to get into a much more highlighted project, the senior person in her absence will promote her. So this is called as sponsorship. So we have made a sponsorship alley to all the women leaders. Right? So it's surely not going to be the fight kind of a thing, but the person will fight for that person and probably try to get her that role or the project or the high promotion, whatever is desired. So there's a huge sponsorship which is going around in our organization. The third one is we also do women-centric town halls. So this is something I've not read anywhere or probably taken anywhere. We just thought a lot of women leaders used to come back to us telling that there are a lot of issues what they face. Right? Even today when we look at it, because I'm on the ground, so I can probably tell this, that a woman speaking as a leader and a male speaking as a leader, there's absolutely a lot of difference, right? So the kind of seriousness which is taken from a man's words, right? It doesn't come from women because we're all basically patriarchal families, right? I always listened to my dad more than my mom, and I always felt my dad's smarter than my mom. So in this way, so we have started bringing in the town halls where we deal with topics like microaggressions or issues, right? Where women can come out and tell there is an insubordination. This is the thing what I am facing, how do you people handle it, right? So that is something which is really helping us out. And last but one is we also have Mommy's Back. So generally when you look at, I'm sure a lot of organizations are doing it because you've asked about my organization, so I'm just reiterating. So what we do is from the trimester, right, the third trimester, there is a senior person who actually takes care of the women's, her skill sets, what she has to actually update herself, and emotionally, right? You're always that week session of about a year, right? So the person is kind of mentored until she goes to her this one, and once she comes back, there is a dull moment, right? She's not fully updated. She doesn't know what's going on. So this person gives her a helping hand, and also her promotion, everything is taken care, right? From that person, through that person. So that is something which is actually helping out, and we have at least about 7 to 8% of women who are always in the maternity, this one, that kind of helps so that we don't lose them out. If you look at it in across the organization, there's 14% where actually women resign because once they come back, they're not treated the same way or they are not given the same position, right? So that is something which we are, which is really helping us, and we have come out with things like Sapphire brand, which is our annual event where we highlight all the women leaders within the organization. So these are few things what we are doing, and finally, if I have to tell you that surely there's a lot of empathy because they have to manage the house, they have to manage, so there's flexibility on their work timings, and there's a lot of cab facilities. And the last thing is these are all English, what I told you. Finally, what women today, especially because of the kind of intelligence, the Gen Zs, right? They talk about pay parity, right? We always forget about that, and we are just speaking big English. So we look at that holistically, and from last 3 years, because I joined the organization 3 years back, Subex. Before that, I was in a startup. So we started looking at taking 10 women leaders and looking at the pay parity. And there's a, gosh, it's crazy actually. Like, there's a huge difference. When you look at the same, a male who is 10 years experience and a woman 10 years, and there's at least 20, 30% of difference. So these are the things what we are doing, and I can't tell that we are totally successful and we're seeing a huge transformation, but it is going on, right? These are the few things what we do.
Asha, I'm really excited, thrilled, and it's inspiring to hear you because I was going through a report which talked about more women in the workforce, and the numbers have improved drastically. But then the question is, how many of them are really climbing the ladder of leadership, and how many of them are continuing the career? And you spoke about breaks. There could be marriage, there could be having a baby. So there are breaks in the career of women, and I'm so glad that your organization and people like you who are heavily invested into doing that. We are a country where we have equal remuneration, but still that gap of pay is so wide. So thank you so much. Mona, would you like to add to what Asha mentioned?
Yeah, most definitely. First of all, I just wish that my daughter thought that her father was more intelligent than her mother. But so patriarchy doesn't come over there now.
No more now.
But yeah, so Allstate also pretty much we do a couple of things that you mentioned. Pay parity audit we do. So we are pretty decent in that sense. We have around 42% women population in the company, which is not bad, but we can do better. But one thing that we had intentionally done again, because we identified that when I talk about 42%, that number sounds pretty decent. But then when you look at junior population, there would be maximum percentage over there. And as you grow to the leadership level, you will see hardly 10%, 15%. So what we did was we tried to identify which are those breaks that you were talking about, which are those events which take women out of this circulation, and how do we make sure that they come back. So we have All Mama program, we give all of those support, but more importantly, what we analyzed and saw was that even for women, middle management women, there are opportunities. So we are equal opportunity employer, we give equal opportunity, all of that is English. But when it comes to somebody putting up their hand for that next assignment where you need to work a little bit more, we saw our capable women leaders not putting up their hand. And we tried to analyze why. And we came to a conclusion that they have dual responsibility. All the time they are thinking that if I were to, and I want to do that, but if I were to put up my hand over there, what else I will have to sacrifice at my home? And we tried to tackle that mindset. We had multiple, first of all, we identified our top performers in women leader. We had conversations with the family. This was an initiation that we did 3 years back, which is giving us dividends now, because we progressively increased the women representation in middle to higher level only because we involved the whole family into that conversation. Not for everything, but for those specific assignments for which the leader also is wanting to put up their hand, but somewhere there are some blockers. So it became very intentional and it became very specific to individual women leader, which has helped us garner great support from that. That's one thing that I wanted to mention about.
Oh, very interesting. My son is 20 years old. He's doing his law second year now. And they have a subject, which I'm very glad that they have started to teach in college already, which talks about gender parity and diversity, equity in corporates. They're already studying biases, unconscious biases and things like that. He talks to me and he asks me, Mama, do you face glass ceiling? Right? Like he said, I've read about glass ceiling. Have you faced glass ceiling? So I said, I haven't faced, but I'm sure there is a glass ceiling that exists. Maybe in the minds of women, maybe actually really on the ground. But yes, it does exist. So we all together have to really battle that. Yeah, please.
I'd just like to add that, in our organization, we never fill up a position whenever a lady goes on a maternity leave. We will normally give it on a temp basis to someone else, so that when the lady employee comes back, she gets back to her original position. That really helps because she feels very much valued in the organization. Just want to add that.
Sure. Thank you. So probably next question to you, Sri. we spoke about diversity and women in particular, but my question is around cultural diversity, right? How do you ensure that the hiring process is much, much more open and, we have an inclusion or hiring of all kinds of leaders? It could be, outside of your domain. You spoke about optics, and you also said it's a small company. But, what are some of the things that your company or of that are being done where we are open to hire people, leaders specifically, from diverse backgrounds?
So, yeah. So, I may have mentioned about, this being a very small industry, but that doesn't mean that we don't hire from outside. So, especially on the sales side, we would prefer someone who is from the optical industry because it is much easier for him to, join and start running from the very first day. But yes, I will share one of my experiences in terms of cultural diversity. One of the thoughts which we had after almost being in the country for 20 years is, can we have someone different, from a different industry, from a different country, heading the, organization? And we kind of, shortlisted someone who really had an Indian, I would say, experience, but from a very, very different FMCG industry, and took him up as a CEO of the organization. So our experiment was highly successful to a large extent, and this is what I wanted to share is, while on one hand, he brought in a lot of changes in terms of who is our customer, which market we grow, how do we really change the way we are, marketing the products in the organization, how do we really up the market? These are some of the thoughts which he brought in. But somehow, what is more important, which we came to know later, is how does the individual also culturally fit into the whole global organization? And this becomes very, very tough because, a organization which has 150 years of history has a certain way of working. And when you are in a way, walking the other direction, a lot of times you get pulled back. And then, as a leader, you feel highly frustrated. And that is where, after 1.5 years, he decided to leave. So when you bring in culturally, a diverse person, there is also a kind of a risk involved. Yes, we have tried it in other functions. We were trying to bring in people from other industries, even other locations within the same industry. It has helped us to grow and be stable in the organization. But yes, there are also kind of pitfalls which comes along with this experiment.
Sure. Thank you, Sri. Asha, would you like to add on to this? Could you give me some examples of, when you hired people from cross-industry background, if it has really helped you, or what was the impact?
Got it. I probably have an exact opposite example of what she told now. So I don't too much believe in cultural fitment. I most probably believe in cultural addition, right? That's where my diversity comes out, right? So in my previous organization, there was a very difficult project, and we got a guy who was a techie to the marketing, okay? And we got a guy from manufacturing to services to handle the entire services. And we got a engineer to recruitment. And we got few more diverse this one. It failed, the project failed. Okay, finally the project did not do to the expected level. But I feel that probably trying out these kind of new things will surely give in a little bit of gush of newness, innovation, and probably there will be a direction change and other things. So I surely agree that we need to bring in diverse culture people into it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But it's better to try something rather than later on tell we probably could have tried something like this. So I was in Goa Bibu previously for about 13 years. So that was a most maverick culture I've ever seen. And we had created monsters out of engineers. That's what we used to call monkeys, our engineers. But then after 13 years, I joined Subex, right? And so it was a listed company. It was 1,000+ people, and everybody used to look very senior and all that, right? Like, it was cultural shock only for me, actually, but my boss took a bet on me. And like, my only thing used to be execution, right? Like, I used to get bored sitting in meetings for hours together and all that. So it kind of worked, right? It works sometimes, it doesn't work, but I think we should take that big leap. And in fact, my team people who are in recruitment, so recruitment again, like, you need to have that aggression, although, so it's naturally builds up to become a good salesperson, right? If you have a tinge of technology with you. So I've moved out my people to sales, and they're really doing very well in Asia Pacific. They're heading it now. So I think trying out is better than just sitting idle.
And then you reminded me of a personal story again. So I was getting interviewed for Scania before this company, and I wasn't sure that I want to join. It was just more of an exploratory discussion. And then it went on for 3 hours with the MD of Scania, who was a Swedish guy. And I told him, I said, I'm very confident that this role, I can really do it. But why do you want to hire me? One, I'm not from manufacturing background. I do not speak the local language, because usually in factories, and especially heavy commercial vehicles, you may have unions or a lot of blue-collar workers. So I said, I don't speak Kannada. I am not from an MSW background. I'm an MBA in HR and marketing. And also, I'm not a man, because usually that is what they were hiring for a production setup. So I said, I don't tick any of your boxes. I'm confident, but are you? This is exactly, that's the reason. We want somebody who's not from this background, because they can really think out of the box, bring in innovative practices. And yeah, I agree. It did work for them, and I hope, and for me as well. So on this note, I'd like to open the floor to our audience who've been patiently listening in. Any questions? Anybody can raise their hands, and we will have the mic come over. And all over to you guys. Can you? And if you can state your name and your company, it will be great.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Quite really, I must say, monarchs here, not by the name, but definitely you all are from quite big joints here. But my name is Nitya Sharma, and I head the talent acquisition for my company called VNS Procuring. So we are a global recruitment consultancy firm. And my question is to Mr. Joel, because I think my frequency had just matched with yours, because you come from a startup as well, and so am I. And my question is to you, how do we bring on these leaders? Because despite, competing with the cons and benefits of giving them that, you are almost in safe hands, that sort of potential. Yet there is always this credibility of, it's like, I'm selling a TCL iPad and TV versus Samsung or, LG brand. So when competing with already established giants, it's always very difficult for especially the HR person to sell your firm, which is the startup or, a mid-level startup. So how can you help me with that, possibly, in case if you have some suggestions?
Okay, thanks for the question. I wish I had a very straightforward answer, which I don't, and I'm sure you will agree to that as well, right? Because the startup scene right now is not that great, and this is something which we also grapple with. I mean, if you ask me, because we're trying to hire a director, and we also kind of run into the same sort of issue. So, couple of things. What we do is, okay. So let me just probably talk a little about my company. I'm just trying to sell it as well. So we are a very progressive company, and one thing which, again, it's not English. We try to kind of do that as we try to kind of live by that. What we are trying to, what we have put in as a policy. Couple of things what we do is, one is we have a benefits policy wherein employee, he or she wants to go for counseling or wants to go for any sort of wellness thing, there is an option for them to reimburse it. Okay, so I know it sounds very, it sounds very silly, but yeah, that's one thing. And the other thing is we were talking about diversity. Again, we have policies in place where there is a lot of focus given on the diversity aspect. So we provide insurance coverage for live-in partners, okay, apart from husband and wife. So that is one aspect of it. We provide coverage for same-sex partners as well. If you have a live-in partner who is of the same sex, we provide coverage for them as well. So these are few things which probably somewhere makes us stand out in the market. Okay, so that's one side of it. The other side is, one thing what we do is we try to use our network so that we are able to kind of get leaders or people who are probably, like you said, at the same wavelength or with the same sort of a background. That actually kind of helps, because we have leaders who are from Amazon, who are from Microsoft, who has got like 15, 20, like 25 years of experience. So they have a wide network. And what happens is, when you have people like that, and when you have a wide network, obviously you will find people from your network, and we kind of pull them in probably for interviews and all that. And if things go well, we go ahead and we hire them. So if I throw in some numbers, our senior leadership, I would say around 40 to 50% of them have come through referrals. And it has worked for us really well. So these are few things which we kind of try to implement so that we get the right candidate. Again, it is a struggle because we have to compete with a lot of these new age companies, and that's a different, there are a different set of problems, but these are a few things which we kind of take care of.
Thank you so much, and I must say for my real respect to Asha for, putting up this issue of women empowerment, or probably, these are terms that are really huge, but in the, honest context, I'm a recent mother of a young one, but I really had to fight for my position. So it's like, every now and then there is some sort of insecurity especially to the moms, that you really have to compete. You have to probably put down your skills even more than you were putting it before. So if your firm is really doing it, then my respect to it. Thank you so much. And I wish to, and ultimately just to add it on. Maybe I was also thinking that I was listening to my father, but now my husband listens to me. So ultimately, and I think most of the men here would agree, you would be ending up listening to your wives. So thank you so much, Sapphire, for giving us this opportunity, and have a great day. Great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shayan, and I am from IIT Madras. My question is for, I would say, Asha. Asha, you spoke about diversity, and you also mentioned that it's not just a journey. It's a journey. It's not just a destination, and it's not just about the number game. So my question is, what initiatives can organizations take to ensure that they are moving ahead of this number game, and doing something to integrate this diversity hiring, especially when it comes to the leadership hiring? What steps can be taken?
Okay, I think I'll just break the question into two things. One is rather than just the number game, what we all think, what are the things what we can do, right? On the women empowerment. So a few things what I thought was right were probably having more of these kind of discussions, right? The microaggressions, or maybe imposter syndrome, right? Women have this, I can't tell for everybody, but what I have seen, at least probably spoken to thousands of women in my organization previous. So a lot of women, the senior leaders especially, come back with one particular syndrome telling that I've got this position by luck. Or probably this is called as an imposter syndrome. So probably talking it out and counseling these people, right? There can be a better diversity brought in. Second thing is also, it is just not women and women. It is also a very big gender has to align with this proposition what we propose in the organization, right? So making sure that your managers, the male or the other population in the organization is aligned. So we do a very regular check-in on this where we give them post training, we give them different kind of inclusion walks we do. So when I do an inclusion walk, there is about 20 men who walk with me, and then we ask them one thing which they never loved or liked with a woman who they are very strongly connected. So these are the kind of, and we try to counsel them with those kind of things. So these are small things what we can actually start making sure that the diversity is there and everybody is aligned. So there are leaders who actually don't believe in diversity at all. If you are not aligned with diversity, even one leader out of 10, then it's surely going to be very difficult because it comes from top to bottom. So that is one thing probably what I feel is about the diversity. The second question, if you can just give me a little more hint on that, I can.
Before the second question, just to continue this. So I think it's not just about the gender game, but also about what backgrounds they come from, even people with disabilities, that also can be a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then what are the various walks of life they come from?
Yeah.
Okay, of course, we have all seen this series called Panchayat, most of us. So, so I think that is one of the examples that what kind of leadership have you had in the past, and why are you coming now for management game change? So I think that also can be a part of the diversity game. Now, my extended question was that when it comes to leadership hiring, what are the precautions that organizations must take? And I think this question is for everyone. That will help in ensuring that it's a seamless connectivity with the new person who is coming in, of course, with the team. Yeah. As I think Joel also mentioned that you have a good policy of the people who would be reporting to this person. They also end up taking interviews, and that's a wonderful thing. That happened with me, by the way. So my team actually ended up interviewing me in my current job, and of course I could easily connect, and that's why this question.
It happened with me as well.
So I'll let others to add on for this. I had one point for this, sir. So what we do is we don't follow this. This is a very beautiful practice. I'll surely take this as my take home. Another one thing what we do is there is a buddy system, right? We make a junior person as a buddy for the leader. So with this, what happens, the leader is not above the 60,000 feet and talking, right? He knows the ground reality. Sometimes you have to take people who are not actually hands-on. So this kind of helps. So this is one thing what we actually do. Probably,
if I may add, to what Asha mentioned. See, it seems very operative, but one of the reasons why you do not have many women coming in the leadership or hiring, for instance, let's say you want to hire a CFO position. Now I'll ask this question to everybody. What comes to your mind is a man, right? Now it's not intentional. None of us are doing it consciously, but because of our past experience, the brain is wired so much that we talk about a he, number one. Number two, invariably you will say, yeah, I'm open to all when somebody is probed that, are you okay for having a woman here? So they say, yeah, I'm fine, but invariably they will talk about a he. So first of all, how can you change the lingo? Because that lingo is related to your mind. In your job descriptions, can you stop using the word work man? Can you stop using the word he? These are very, very basic things, but you'll realize they are so deep-rooted, number one. Number two is, then we, let's say, give this position to somebody, an executive search firm, or we give it to our recruiters. Now, what happens more often than not is, by default, the 5 resumes that will get shortlisted, 4 of them at least will be man. Why? There's nothing wrong about it, but that's what is easily available. And for somebody to really go out and hire somebody from a diverse background, it could be disability, it could be any kind of diversity, an industry diversity, you'll have to do a little bit more deeper work. Who wants to do a deeper work, right? So that something has to be told to your recruiters and the executive search firm, that at the resume level, if I do not have a parity, 50-50% or even 70-30, how on earth will I be able to hire somebody from a diverse background? So that's probably second point from a hiring perspective. And of course, culture, Asha's already covered.
And I would just add over here, what we intentionally again do, that we ask for 50-50% from the recruiters. But at the leadership hiring level especially, we also make sure that, just to add to what you were saying, there has to be a woman leader in the panel of interview. Because then extending what you were saying exactly, the kind of questions also that you put across, you need sensitization by way of at least having one woman leader in the panel. And this we do from middle management upwards for every single leadership hiring. That's additional one that we do.
That's very interesting, See, it's a very simple thing, but we don't do it.
And you said it very right. These are not negative things, but this is how largely we have been thinking. So how do you break that by intentionally doing one or two things here and there, and then you see the change? So, yeah.
Thank you.
So I know we did not answer your full question because...
I'm sorry, it was beyond what I was expecting.
No, it is just not the women and man, it's also the other genders also, with all due respect. We do have taken transgenders. I started in my team. So it's called as a fluid gender. So one day the person feels he's a girl, one day the person feels he's a boy. So we kind of went through, it's called as fluid gender, and we made a study about it to understand the person, and then we hired, and we have few more who are not able to visually impaired, and those kind of people also, where we actually give a little bit of education to the manager before the person is onboarded, so that he's not treated differently.
Can I ask one small question, if this permits? So when it comes to diversity, there's a new domain of diversity just opened in my mind. Most of the times, organizations while hiring, they look at the overall from 10th, 12th, and the graduation marks, and it should be 60% and above. There are times when we find people or students, the early talents, who have not scored good at all in their 10th and 12th and the graduation as well. But when you look at their masters, it is phenomenally higher than the other crowd. But just because they do not fall in the category of 10th and 12th, 60% and above, they somehow miss. Are the organizations thinking something on these lines of diversity?
So I'll just tell one word, sorry, I've been just talking. My future CTO who's going to join me, he's not done his degree. Okay, so I mean it's fine, right? If anybody else
we don't have a policy like that. I mean, there is no cutoff required. I mean, if somebody is good, if he or she has the skills, we hire them. So that way we are a little progressive. Yeah.
We might be doing that at a graduate level when we are hiring somebody, just to make sure that the person has been studying in college, right? But other than that, we don't look at that.
And just to add to that, I think services companies especially, they need some criteria as a filter. So that is one reason they use it. And you can't really blame companies for that, because there's so many engineers out in the market. And when you're looking at numbers, they need to be a filter. Yeah. So
it might be important for the first job only.
Yeah.
So I just want to add one thing on the education qualification and the background. In fact, my TA lead is also along with me, Anil, where we had this discussion. We had a situation where a person hadn't completed graduation, and it was more to do with design role, and we were wondering on a coffee table, what do we do with this case? Because majority of our hires are graduates. So we said we'll go ahead, we'll value the skill the person brings to the table. Now he's joined, and he's been with us for 6 months, and now he's showing interest to study as part of further education reimbursement program. He's enrolled into it, and he's doing fantastic. My name is Megha. I'm from Harman Miller.
Time, we'll take one last question. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Varsha, and I am from DI Space and Inclusive Hiring. So my one part of the question Shayan has already asked, because we were in IIT Madras talking about the same thing, skill-centric hiring. So I'll skip that part of the question. But one of the things which I completely agree is it first starts with the language. So we need to actually start using not chairman, but chairperson. We have to start, using not ladies and gentlemen, but hello everybody or hello everyone. And a lot of things which actually make everyone feel included. So that is one part of the thing. Other thing, I believe definitely skill-centric hiring, and it's great to see that you're hiring a CTO who does not have a degree. I think it's a great start, and a lot of inspirations people can definitely take from it. The other part which I have is proactive versus reactive hiring. So we are talking about diversity hiring. We are talking about, women or people with disability or LGBTQIA+, or veterans, and so on and so forth. And at times we say that it takes a lot of time to hire people from diverse background because they are not available, and then obviously the business cannot wait because eventually the business have to run. We have to make profit. If there's no business, there's no DI. But in that case, the proactive hiring will definitely work. How much are we preparing the candidate pool across the job roles, across the seniority, keeping it handy, keeping the candidates warm, so that at one particular point of time when I have a position, I have the pool to tap on. And I don't have to wait for 6 months for a hire, and I'm not impacting my business, plus I'm not impacting my diversity goals also. So what do you think about it?
I think it's an excellent suggestion. We do that. So, but what happens is for certain skills, at least I'm talking about all states, certain technical skills, you always require them. So we always have this pipeline that you're talking about. My recruiters are constantly looking in the talent market and constantly engaging with them. And we keep on doing that. The only thing is that you can keep them warm for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and then they sort of move. But at the same time, you end up developing those relationships. So as and when you want to hire, you can tap onto these resources. So we do that. Largely, we have not yet done that beyond junior levels, right? At a senior level, it becomes even more personalized. So you don't actually always think about what next is coming, but you keep on building on those relationships across levels, so that as and when you require, if they are available, you know where to go rather than going to the market and then starting from scratch. So we do that in bits and pieces, not as a complete science yet, but maybe AI will help us in that.
Because generally, want to add a point as well, because generally from diverse background people, they look for a company who really cares for them, which is actually inclusive, and who actually are really appreciating. So if we are preparing a candidate pool for women, people with disability, LGBTQI+, and so on, and they feel that yes, the company is connected, they value us, they are inclusive, and they are definitely appreciating us, they will definitely prefer that company to join than anybody else who's probably just reaching out to them just a day before.
No, you're right. So what we also do is we have these employee impact groups, EIGs, and we have multiple EIGs, 7 to 8. So we have veterans, we have able, we have disability, all of these. So what we end up doing is we give them projects to keep them engaged. So again, going back to my point, if we have given them a project, we have also sensed them out, they have sensed the organization out. So 6 months, 8 months project, we continuously keep on doing that. That helps us in the ecosystem.
Just adding to Monarch's point, what we have done since 10 years, what I have followed is taking people who are on break. That helps, kind of solves a lot of problems, right? Not for a longer time break, because it becomes very difficult to train them, and there are projects, timelines and other things, but generally that is one thing what I have done.
Good. So thank you so much, all the panelists here. Oh, okay, sorry.
Asha, you set the ball rolling when you started talking about mentorship and sponsorship, and sorry, the discussion kind of got hijacked or rather skewed towards diversity, but my question is to you, Ruchi. I come from TMI. I lead one of the businesses, which is a talent augmentation business with TMI Group, and we're a 3-decade-year old organization into integrated HR space. So I come from the staffing background, and this is a huge challenge that we face in terms of gender-based mandates when you're hiring for clients and to be deployed at clients. So what are some of the things that Quest has undertaken to ensure that there is some parity there? For our internal employees, there's lots that we can do. But many times when we are deploying at clients, and then a lot of times the clients don't really want gender-based hiring. So that's one question. Second, what is Quest doing to have more women take the seat at the leadership level? So
Sure.
both questions.
So I think we have both kinds of clients. There are clients, like you said, who are not interested in it, right? But then there are many others who come to us only because we are able to fulfill their mandates. For example, there have been so many customers who have particularly asked us for people who are from, let's say, tier D cities, the migrants or people who are, from the tribal areas or areas that, and that because they have seen success with that. We have people who have said that we want, in our manufacturing setup, only women to work, almost 70-80%. In electronics, I don't want to name the clients here, but we're talking about some marquee clients. We've had people, customers come to us saying, we want for our warehouse pink hubs that we are creating. So I would say more and more, like we're talking about it, there is across the same sentiment, whether it is customers or whether it is inside. There's another trend which is very, very common. The Gen Y and Gen Z, and I don't mean that not the Gen X and the other generations, but more and more people here, they would like to work only for companies who respect diversity of all and inclusivity, equity, inclusion of all kinds. So it's not a glamorous thing anymore. It is a mandate, because they also believe that such organizations are modern in their thinking, and they are also very flexible, which also helps their own mandates. I've also seen over a period of time, which is really helping, is most of the, for example, the guys who you interviewed, they would have their spouses, their wives, for example, working. So they appreciate that kind of flexibility, and they participate in the home affairs. So it's no more, like she mentioned, it's no more responsibility only of a woman that, okay, if you have a child, it's your responsibility. What we are doing in Quest is bringing this angle of equality. When you start to talk about equity and equality of all kinds of, whether it's gender or backgrounds, I think that probably helps us being successful. We talk about it a lot in our hiring, in our recruitment teams. We encourage people to get from all the backgrounds. Luckily for us, we are a very diverse company, all kinds of diversity. So for us, it works. But there are areas, for example, you spoke about gender. When I started, we were about 17% that poor in women in the workforce. And I would be amazed, because previous to this, in my manufacturing setup, we were already 33%. And this is poorer than the India average. So it was, a real jolt. We really had to work hard. And I'm proud to say in 3 years' time, we are 37%. And this year, we're talking 50%. So it requires, like she said, it's a journey. It requires attack, if I can say so, on all fronts. And I'm not talking about being a feminist here. I'm talking about on behalf of all kinds of diversity. It's a cultural change. There are 360-degree efforts that you'll have to make, right from candidate pool, right from incentivizing your recruiters, right from referral bonuses, because that's the best way to really attract people of all kinds, and to have policies and benefits which are inclusive for all. So it's a piece of work. It's not just hiring. Yeah. So thank you. I think it was very engaging discussion. And I'd like to thank especially the audience, because very few times you have seen on a Friday late evening such an engaging audience. So we're very thrilled, and I'm sure all our panelists are as well. There's a mutual gain that we both the parties had. And on this note, thank you very much, and over to our host back.
Thank you so much, Ruchi. And it was indeed quite an insightful conversation, a discussion. Now, moving on to the last leg of this conclave, I would request all the panel members to be on the stage. And additional to that, I would also like to request to invite Mr. Rajesh Ramachandran onto the stage, along with Mr. Rishi Kapoor, Ms. Nagma Sharma, partner Sapphire, and Mr. Sandeep Batra, Sapphire. And they are going to unveil our CXO moves, a study of C-suite movements in India. Now, before we do this, just to give you a small introduction about what CXO moves is. Sapphire, which is driven by the initiative to curate something meaningful for the HR fraternity, proudly presents the annual CXO moves report. This comprehensive report offers valuable insights into underlying trends to enhance your leadership hiring process. It is the result of an extensive year-long study conducted in collaboration with Sapphire Human Capital and FICCI, examining CXO movements documented during financial year 23-24. Insights from leaders in both HR and business domains have been incorporated into this report, and we hope you find it as valuable as Team Sapphire found in creating it. Copies of the report are available at our registration desk. Now, to unveil the book, I would request all the panel members to have a copy. And I would request to unveil the copy at the same time. I can give a count of 3. Yes. Yes, I'll give you a count of 3. 3, 2, 1, go. Please give a big round of applause. Thank you so much, everyone. And now I would request Mr. Rajesh, Nagma, and Sandeep to please take back your seats. And I would request Rishi to hand over the appreciation, token of appreciation to all our speakers and the moderator of the panel. Can we hear a round of applause, please, for all the panel members? It was indeed an insightful discussion which we had. Thank you so much, everyone. Before we close, I would like to thank our partners once again, our people partners Sapphire Search, supporting association India Diversity Forum, supporting partners Meritrack Services, Voxen University, and the TMI Group. Thank you, everyone, for your active participation and insightful contributions today. A heartfelt thanks to our esteemed speakers for sharing their invaluable expertise and perspectives. Your presence and engagement have truly made this event a resounding success. We now invite you to join us for cocktails and dinner, providing a delightful opportunity to network and connect further, and continue the inspiring conversations sparked today. Once again, thank you for all being part of this memorable event. This is Ajay signing off. Good night, and have a great weekend. Thank you.